Ahead of the global curve, a conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
Hello and welcome to another edition of World of Africa. I'm Erik Njoka. This week on the show, we highlight a troubling trend in Kenya where femicide cases have shot up and women in the country are not having it. Most of them have vowed to hold protests until the government wakes up to the reality and deals with the scourge. We will talk about that shortly. This episode begins from the Horn of Africa region, where Ethiopia's deal to lease a port in Somalia's breakaway region of Somaliland has infuriated the government in Mogadishu and prompted concerns it will further destabilize that region. Under a memorandum of understanding signed on January 1st, landlocked Ethiopia would lease 20 kilometers or 12 miles around Somaliland's port of Berbera for 50 years, in exchange for stakes in Ethiopian state-run companies and possible recognition as an independent nation. Here is our cover report with more details.
A deal with many implications. Somalia calls it an act of aggression and says it will block it. Ethiopia calls it merely a commercial arrangement to address a need for access to the sea. The Mogadishu government considers Somaliland an integral part of Somalia, even though it enjoys effective autonomy. The uproar caused hundreds of Somalis to demonstrate. The government in Mogadishu said it recalled its ambassador to Ethiopia and appealed to the international community to stand against what it called the blatant assault on its sovereignty.
No one has the power to give away a piece of Somalia. Our grandfather refused, our forefathers refused, and our mothers refused. We ourselves refuse to give our land, and it is not possible. Somali people will never accept it.
Ethiopia lost sea access in the early 1990s when its then province Eritrea seceded after a 3-decade war. Abiy's drive to reclaim it is seen as enjoying wide political support. The Prime Minister also wants a sea base for Ethiopia's navy that has been rebuilt in recent years, but is currently limited to conducting training exercises on an inland lake.
As we repeatedly stated previously, we do not wish to use force on anyone. Rather, we will use what we have cooperatively. This is the good news we bring to all the people of Ethiopia, Somaliland, and all the peace and development-loving people on this first day of the new year.
We are very happy and we thank the Ethiopian Prime Minister as we signed the agreement here. We allow them 20 kilometers of our sea and they will recognize us as an independent state. They will become the first state to recognize Somaliland after the signing of this MOU.
Given the chronic instability in Somalia, Ethiopia and Sudan as well, as the Horn of Africa's strategic location across the Red Sea from the Gulf, some analysts fear the dispute could draw in outside actors if it escalates. Middle Eastern powers, including Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey and Qatar, are vying for influence in the region by making economic investments, opening military bases and selling weapons. So far, no country has publicly backed the port deal. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi of Egypt has a frosty relationship with Ethiopia related to a dispute about a dam Ethiopia built on a tributary of the Nile River. Sisi said on Sunday he would not allow anyone to threaten Somalia.
أهنيكم وسجل بكل تقدير.
We will not allow anyone to threaten Somalia, and we will not allow anyone to harm Somalia. I say this very clearly to anyone trying Egypt and trying to threaten its brothers, especially if our brothers ask us to stand by them.
The UAE, a strong ally of Ethiopia and Somaliland that manages the Berbera port through state-run DP World, has not commented on the deal beyond the Arab League statement. The negotiations persist as regional leaders continue with their mediation efforts. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Now, the murders of 2 Kenyan women this month are spotlighting a worrying regularity in gender-based violence in the East African country, with activists calling for more government measures to protect women. They are only 2 of at least 4 reported gender-based murders in Kenya since the start of the year, as the country faces an increasing number of killings and abuses meted out on women. Amid social media outrage, women say they plan to assemble in protests every week to demand more action from authorities. But what's causing an epidemic of violence against women? Let's find out in this next report.
Thousands of people marched in the cities and towns in Kenya during protests Saturday over the recent slayings of more than a dozen women. The anti-femicide demonstration was the largest event in the country against sexual and gender-based violence. In the nation's capital, Nairobi, protesters wore T-shirts printed with the names of women who became homicide victims this month. The crowd, composed mostly of women, brought traffic to a standstill.
I am marching to protect women's rights, to say that women deserve to live, women deserve dignity, and nobody deserves to be killed. Stop killing women!
Grace Wangare, say her name.
Grace Wangare!
And for all the other women gruesomely killed in femicide and IPV, whose names and stories we know, and women whose names and stories are unreported, say their name to the unnamed women, say their names.
Stop killing us, the demonstrators shouted as they waved signs with messages, "There is no justification to kill women." The crowd in Nairobi was hostile to attempts by the parliamentary representative for women, Esther Passaris, to address them. Accusing Passaris of remaining silent during the latest wave of killings, protesters shouted her down with chants of "Where were you?" and "Go home."
We are tired of government institutions that are not working to prevent and where necessary, promptly punish femicide.
Sexual gender-based offences should not be bailable. And this is because they're bailable because of us trying to conform to human rights standards all over the world. We need to make our own standards.
2 cases that gripped Kenya this month involved 2 women who were killed at Airbnb accommodations. The second victim was a university student who was dismembered and decapitated after she was reportedly kidnapped for ransom.
A country is judged not by how well it treats its rich people, but how well it takes care of the weak and the vulnerable. Women are the backbone of any society, and so therefore women deserve protection from the law in terms of some of the criminal activities that we have seen targeted specifically at women.
Kenyan media outlets have reported the slayings of at least 14 women since the start of the year. Opido Dev, a research firm in the country, reported that news accounts showed at least 500 women were killed in acts of femicide from January 2016 to December 2023. Many more cases go unreported. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
3 military-led West African nations have announced their immediate withdrawal from regional bloc ECOWAS, accusing the body of becoming a threat to its members. In a statement, Niger, Mali and Burkina Faso said that they decided to complete sovereignty on the immediate withdrawal from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. The regional bloc, in a statement, said that it had not been notified of the country's decision to quit the bloc. Its protocol provides that withdrawal takes up to 1 year to be completed. Here's what the drama is all about.
The message first came from Niger, that the military regimes in the country, together with Burkina Faso and Mali, are withdrawing their countries from the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, a 15-member sub-regional organization with immediate effect.
After 49 years, the valiant people of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger regretfully and with great disappointment observe that the organization has drifted from the ideals of its founding fathers and the spirit of Pan-Africanism.
The decision, announced in a simultaneous joint statement on the national television channels, it is a blow to the bloc's regional integration efforts after it suspended the 3 following coups. The move could further weaken ECOWAS, that has struggled to contain a democratic retreat in the West Africa region.
The organization notably failed to assist these states in their existential fight against terrorism and insecurity. Worse, when these states decided to take their destiny into their own hands, ECOWAS allegedly adopted an irrational and unacceptable stance by imposing sanctions that were illegal, illegitimate.
Juntas have all severed long-standing military ties with former colonial ruler France, dealing a blow to France's influence in the region and complicating international efforts to curb a decade-old Islamist insurgency that has destabilized the Sahel region. In a show of independence from France and ECOWAS, the 3 countries have sought to forge closer security, political and economic ties through a new union called the Alliance of Sahel States.
C'est ainsi que naquit l'AES.
And so ICE was born. If you notice, it all started with safety issues. Today, collaboration between our 3 armies has reached an extremely high level of integration, and that scares some people. Our armies are turning the tide against terrorism.
The most important thing to emerge from our discussion was that instead of holding bilateral committee meetings and joint cooperation commissions, we have now decided to hold unified joint commissions for all 3 countries. We have also decided that all structuring projects and programs will be put on the table very quickly.
The West African bloc, ECOWAS, issued a statement shortly after. Part of the statement read, "The 3 countries are important members of the community and the bloc remains committed to finding a negotiated solution to the political impasse." We report, WION World is One.
It was a week of diplomatic parleys for U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin as he wrapped up his tour of Africa. The chief U.S. diplomat's trip to 3 countries in West Africa and 1 in Southern Africa, Angola, comes as Washington seeks to deepen its economic and security partnerships in regions where China and Russia have made significant inroads. Here's a report.
His first stop of his multi-nation African tour was in Cape Verde, where U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin met the West African island nation's Prime Minister Ulysses Correa Silva. The Biden administration seeks to demonstrate that the U.S. is a key partner in a region where China and Russia are exerting considerable influence. In Cape Verde, Blinken said he was starting the trip in Cape Verde because the nation had been quote-unquote a remarkable partner for the United States. In the Ivory Coast of Côte d'Ivoire, Blinken went to the Olympic Stadium for an Admiral's Cup of National Soccer game where he was presented with a shirt bearing his surname.
It's wonderful to be here at the Africa's Cup of Nations, and I just want to compliment the Ivory Coast Côte d'Ivoire for the extraordinary organization of this tournament, bringing so many people together from around the continent and actually well beyond, including a lot of Americans who are here, getting to experience the Ivory Coast, seeing the remarkable work that's been done, putting this tournament together, and bringing people together. And that's really the power of sports. Breaks down barriers of every kind.
Blinken was to later meet Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara and senior government officials. According to a statement from his office, discussions focused on shared priorities of strengthening democracy, expanding trade, and improving local and regional security. The leader landed in Abuja, Nigeria, on his third leg of the Africa visit. While in Nigeria, he met the President Bola Tinubu, then flew to Lagos, where he attended a digital technology showcase and cut a ribbon at the grand opening of American Corner Lekki. He also visited the Nike Center for Art and Culture, where Blinkin pitched the United States as a better security partner for Africa in place of Russia's Wagner mercenary group, that he accused of exploiting coup-hit and conflict-hit nations in the continental Sahel region. Blinkin's final stop was Angola. Blinkin and President João Lourenço Luada discussed the conflict between Rwanda and the DRC. He stressed his continued efforts to de-escalate tensions and hailed Angola's participation in the Artemis Accords, a blueprint for space exploration cooperation among nations participating in NASA's lunar exploration plans.
I'm here in Angola and here in Africa as part of this four-country trip because we see America's future and Africa's future is joined. Our peoples are joined, our prosperity and success in the future is linked.
Blinkin's Africa trip comes as the United States is increasingly nervous about its relationships on the continent, particularly after coups last year in Niger and Gabon, and escalating unrest in Sudan and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In addition, the US and China are in a battle for influence throughout Africa. The topic will likely top his agenda in Angola, which China has targeted for significant investment. Analysts say Africa seems to have been pushed to the back burner under President Joe Biden, and his administration is increasingly consumed by other international issues such as the war in Ukraine, the Israel-Hamas war, and its rivalry with China. Biden has also failed to visit Africa last year as he promised. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Aluma Rock is of major importance in the history of the Yoruba tribe in Nigeria. This monumental fortress was a safe haven for ancient Yorubas during the intertribal war in the 19th century. Our correspondent Louisa Olaniyi toured the spot and filed this report.
Aluma Rock, located in Abeokuta, southwestern Nigeria, holds a captivating history that dates back centuries. The name Olumo translates to under the rock in the local Yoruba language. History has it that the rock served as a refuge for the Egba people during intertribal wars in the 19th century. They sought safety under the massive rock, using its natural formations as a fortress. Traditional ceremonies and rituals are still held at Aluma Rock, preserving the cultural practices of the region.
Though we really have much tourist sites, as you said, but if they are developed, people will still have places. We don't need to travel abroad. We can still stay here in our local areas and enjoy being a tourist and enjoy going for tour. It depends, but here at Aluma Rock, I think this place is still standard. So the government took their resources to develop this place.
Aluma Rock was turned into a tourist site in 1976 and was commissioned by former President Olusegun Obasanjo on the 3rd of February 2006. It is an impressive formation standing at about 404 feet, 137 meters above sea level.
This place filled with tradition, beauty, culture, history, where the Egba and the Dahomey fought and won. Whose side won, we do not know, but we do know this place is a place of culture.
When I got here, I feel so thrilled by the atmosphere and also being able to connect to the natural environment because I love anything natural like rock, waters and all. So getting here gives me that feelings like yeah.
Aluma Rock is still very honored among the Igbas, and it stands as a symbol of unity and protection for the natives of Abeokuta. The cave ruins still serve as a reminder of the survival strategy adopted by the people. Every year, sacrifices and prayers are offered in an ancient shrine, situated on the upper part of the rock by the Alake of Egbaland, who is the ruler of the Egbas. Aluma Rock stands not only as a symbol of Nigeria's rich history, but also as a beacon of cultural pride and unity.
With the global travel landscape evolving rapidly, there is a growing consensus on the importance of exploring and appreciating the beauty and diversity within our own borders, one of which is Aluma Rock in Abeokuta. Now, this ancient rock has witnessed centuries of history, serving as a salient witness to the tales of triumphs, struggles and resilience of the Yoruba people of southwest Nigeria. From Aluma Rock in Abeokuta, southwest Nigeria, Louisa Olani, WION, World is One.
Beekeepers in Kenya are turning away from honey and harvesting venom instead. There is a lucrative market for the substance, which is popular in alternative medicine. Here's a report.
The buzz of the busy bees is in the air. But the carers are not here to harvest honey. They have another product in mind: bee venom. It's growing in popularity in Kenya as alternative therapists explore its medicinal potential. Also referred to as apitoxin, this substance is extracted using bee venom collectors. And the big bonus is the process is non-lethal.
The advantage with the bee venom collector is the bees don't die. Unlike normally when a bee stings you, the bee dies. With the bee venom collector, once a bee sting on the collector, it collects the venom, but it serves the bees.
But not just any bees are suitable for this business. They need to be aggressive as well, because of course, they should be willing to sting. Farmers have to experiment with the colonies to find the ones with the right temperament. Each bee contains a few milligrams of venom, so it takes 3 colonies to extract a single gram. A colony may consist of up to 60,000 worker bees and 20,000 male bees, which gives you an idea of the scale of bee venom farming.
Bee venom guarantees you daily income because you can harvest it every day, as compared to other bee products like the conventional honey, which you have to wait for 4 months for you to harvest.
In the local market, a gram of bee venom sells for $30, while in the international market, the price rises to $100. Alternative medicine has embraced the sting of venom. Patients come to apitherapists like this in the hope of finding relief from the ailments. Apitherapy is gradually becoming a complementary approach to conventional medicine, with patients reporting positive outcomes.
The bee stings are painful, but compared to the pain that somebody usually have when you're going there, I can't compare it, because for me I got healed.
Precautions are taken, including allergy tests, to avoid potential adverse reactions. While apitherapy is welcomed in Kenya and taught at government institutions, there is currently no specific regulation for the practice. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Thank you very much for watching this week's episode of World of Africa. Get in touch with us on all our social media platforms and share your feedback about the show there. My name is Erik Njoka. Keep watching WION World is One, and until next time, it's goodbye from me.
We are one, you and I. Burning in the sun. Rising in the rain. One in celebration. One in pain. One in a tragedy. One for our rights. One in search of hope. One in our fights. One beyond borders. One beyond our race.
This could be one
in the face of adversity. We are one, you and I, and it's our right to know how and why. WION, you are more connected than you know.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
Maldivian parliament members come to blows. Brawl over new pro-China cabinet plan.
While troubles continue to mount for Maldives President Mohamed Muizzu, if the opposition parties return with a collective strength of over 62 in the expanded parliament, they can pass an impeachment motion to oust President Muizzu.
Heat on Muizzu, impeachment calls emerge.
Current government disrupted the process to stop the vote from being taken. This is a complete ruckus in parliament at the moment.
WION exposes a deepening mess.
WION, India's global voice. The channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
As election fever grips Pakistan, WION gets you all the twists and turns. The row over election and selection. Players who matter and what's at stake.
नौजवानों का मुस्तकबिल मेरी सबसे ज्यादा तवज्जो होगी। गुर्बत का खात्मा करना होगा। एक बार मौका दीजिए।
अगर आप अपने हुकूक के लिए नहीं खड़े हो, आप गुलामों की जिंदगी गुजारे।
The highs and lows as the campaign peaks.
आगे बढ़ें। I'm Anas Malik. Catch me on WION as I bring you all the latest updates and developments from ground zero.
Who will emerge as Pakistan's next leader?